Welcome back. You are watching DXB Today, and today we are highlighting and recognizing World Mental Health Day, and we have got amazing experts, one doctor to another, here to give you the tips and tricks that you need to get the help that you need. Our next guest is a well-known clinical psychologist here in Dubai and the founder of the Lighthouse Arabia. Please welcome Dr. Saliha Afridi. Dr. Saliha, you know that I'm constantly quoting you. I'm also a very big fan of yours. I'm starstruck between the two of you guys. But let's get right into it because you give fantastic advice. I want everyone else to hear it. Let's get straight into anxiety. It is on the rise as it has been for a while, not just with adults, but also with lots of kids. What is happening out there?
I think to answer that first, we would really need to understand what anxiety is. And anxiety is our body, our system telling us that we are not safe. And how do we create a sense of safety? We actually have to understand that that stress and that anxiety is coming out of that same system, which is the sympathetic system. So when you are in this fight or flight mode all the time, you have to look around you and say, what is creating that lack of safety? And we have been programmed and beautifully designed over thousands of years to have a certain set of needs for our nervous system. We need to have rest, we need to have activity, we need to have dark nights where we sleep, and mornings when we are out with the nature. We have relationships that are close and we feel safe with. And when some of that is compromised, even one or two of those things are compromised, you can expect that there will be a reaction from the nervous system. So what are we having in the modern day? In the modern day, we are having constantly on culture. We wake up with a phone in our face, we go to sleep with a phone in our face, and that blue light is really, really dysregulating for our system. There's never a time that we are actually off. And so creating safety for our system would be the most important thing if we are to live in the modern world and not just kind of go with the modern world and what it is demanding of us all the time. We have to be very deliberate in how we live in the modern world.
This is so huge, Dr. Saliha, and I'm such a fan of your work. Obviously, you've been on the podcast as well. My question is, with all of this uncertainty and the rise of AI, and obviously it's Global Mental Health Day, how can you just unpack that for us?
Yeah. So I think anxiety and uncertainty go hand in hand. As human beings, we love predictability, we love certainty. And anytime there is any ambiguity or uncertainty, we are going to inject fear and overestimate the danger. So that's one thing that we should know, that uncertainty, we don't like it. Our nervous system doesn't like it. We like to know that things are going to be the same. Even if the thing actually is not healthy for us, we like that predictability. So instead of saying, okay guys, focus on what you can control, because you can do that, focus on what you can control, and that could be that I have my coffee at 6 a.m. every morning and I go for a walk at 6:30 every morning. Some of that is good. But I would actually say, guys, I think it's time to build some muscle for uncertainty. It's actually a capacity. If you have everything the same all the time, even if you have like a different hairdresser, you're gonna go into like a stress reaction, right? Well, hairdresser is an important one, but okay. But really challenging yourself and building in spaces where you're not doing the same exact thing every day, eating the same exact thing, being with the same exact people, you have to build capacity for uncertainty, because we are moving more and more into a world where we are not going to know what's next. So how do we just prepare and build a capacity inside of us to be able to do that?
Dr. Saliha, my very first therapy experience was with the Lighthouse, and I want to know, because we talked about it a little bit with Dr. Nita, but do you still find, especially in the Arab world, a lot of people are like, I don't need a shrink, I'm not crazy. Yeah. Is there still a stigma when it comes to therapy, especially in this part of the world? And what would you say to people who still feel that way?
For sure, the stigma is still here, and not just in the Arab world, in all world. I think the stigma is very much present, and it is precisely because of that. When mental health treatment first began, it really was for the clinically, mentally, seriously ill people, where there was institutionalized, there were medications, there were electroshock therapy, there were things that were actually very much reserved for people that were very clinically, they were suffering in that kind of serious way. As time has gone by, therapy has changed in how you can use that. And it's become more of like, okay, well, I get a physiotherapist for my body, I get a nutritionist, I get a PT for my exercise, but why can't I get someone for my mental fitness? And to think about going to a therapist and just reframing that and saying, I'm going to build self-awareness, because self-awareness will be the foundation of any resilience. You cannot have any resilience until you know where your triggers are, until you know where you fall short, until you know what upsets you, how you show up in relationship. And that's just very human. And the therapist also has a therapist, you know? So it's not like, oh, we are the therapist and we don't have one. I have a therapist and I see that therapist every week without fail for the last many, many years. And that is because I want to be self-aware, and I'm building a capacity to tolerate all the distressful emotions inside of myself too. So I think it's time we just all kind of reframe it and say, listen, we need to treat our mind and work with our mind, and to develop a fitness for our mind and our psychological health.
Absolutely.
So, Dr. Saliha, we talked about like how we recognize anxiety and how we can combat anxiety, but what about when anxiety becomes too physically and emotionally unmanageable? What's the early red signs, and what can we do to kind of fix that one before it goes out of control?
I think that's such a great question, because when we think of anxiety, we're like, oh, I don't want it. But anxiety is a very important system of ours. It tells us, pay attention. That's our anxiety system. And it sits on a spectrum. On this side, there's healthy anxiety, and on this side, we are in the terror zone. And somewhere in the middle, we all exist. But it is anxiety that makes you put on your seatbelt. It is that same system that makes you look both ways before you cross the street. It is the same thing that makes you prepare for before you come on stage and you're doing that. That's your anxiety system that says, hey, pay attention. If we didn't have that system, we would all be sitting on the couch eating potato chips and just like hoping that somebody would come serve us. Like, it actually is a very important system. However, when it goes a little bit haywire, which is what the nervous system anxiety, right? The nervous system is overactivated. That's when you know that you are now moving into a more serious levels of anxiety, which if you don't manage that, it could move into a clinical anxiety. So some of those early signs, you want to look at your body, you want to look at your mind, and you want to look at your emotions, right? Your body is going to give you all sorts of signals. You are going to have shallow breath, you're going to have rapid heart rate, you're going to feel queasy in your stomach, you're going to have maybe sweaty palms. All of these, your jaws are going to clench. All of these things are saying, your body is saying, hey, listen, something's not right. And then in your mind, your thoughts are racing, you're almost maybe thinking the same thing, or you're maybe having like a danger signal go off. And emotionally, you're more irritable, you're angry, you're nervous, you might cry. All of these symptoms will tell you that, okay, this is happening, this is a bit more dangerous. Now, I would say that if that's happening a lot of times, all day, every day, over a certain amount of time, maybe 1 or 2 weeks, get help. And I would say don't wait for the next crisis. I would say deal with it. If the signals are there, even slightly, go build a toolbox of coping skills that help you manage that anxiety so you don't tip off into the crisis. Life is hectic, life is hard, life is becoming more and more unmanageable at certain times in your life also. So it's just very important to go to the therapist, go to the psychologist, build your toolbox of coping skills that will help you.
Well, Dr. Saliha, we wanted you to say more because we're so excited to hear more about your insights, and Dr. Nita as well. So please stay here, don't go anywhere.